ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Professional Biography program. Today, I am being joined by a versatile industry professional who has been driving the advancements in the oil and gas industry for the past 30 plus years. Currently, the Chief Technology and Innovation Officer at Dragon Oil. He also serves on the board of International Society of Petroleum Engineering and previously held the role of Senior Advisor to Bahrain's Minister of Oil from 2017 to 2021. Besides this, he has even held various leadership positions at MAPCO, including GM of HR, admin, and Secretary of the Board of Directors. With his deep expertise and decades of experience, he is leading cutting edge innovation and technology initiatives that will shape the future of the oil and gas industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Mr. Hesham Zubari to the program. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting me in this program.
Sure, sir. So, sir, as my first question, can you please take us through your early life, your parents, your college, your schooling, and all?
Sure. Well, I was born in Bahrain, in Manama, the capital of the Kingdom of Bahrain, back in 1965. And I come from a family of academically oriented people. So my father was a school principal at the time. And my mother also was very, book reading loving person. So the house was always filled with books and stories and science magazines. And so we grew up in this sort of environment, me and my brothers and sisters. And we all ended up getting higher education and holding, high level positions. And so we attended at the time public schools. We didn't have those private schools at the time when we started in 1970s. And the public schools teaches you much more than the curriculum, right? So you get to know all this, communication skills, and you talk to people from different diverse backgrounds. And it was an amazing experience. And I still have my best friends actually, go back to those days. From Hungary. Oh, yes. It's, those were like the genuine days. So we fell in love with these topics like mathematics and physics and sciences. And all the time, all those, those days, everything was manual. So you go to the lab and you work manually on those, chemicals and, HCl. You don't even have to wear goggles or anything and gloves. It was just, there was some passionate, science-loving people. And so I finished the school, and then I got to go to study petroleum engineering at the University of Texas. That was back in 1981. So I graduated from the University of Texas back in 1986, and I was only 21 years old when I graduated. I actually went to the US when I was 16 years old. I was very young. And the reason is because I got to school very early. I was 4 years old when I got to school. And, at the time, there wasn't that sort of regulations, they were not very strict. So I was fully working professional at 21 years old, and I went up the ranks. So I started as a numerical simulation engineer. So I studied in 1986, the computers just start to come out, and the knowledge of modeling just started to grow. And I fell in love with this Fortran programming. So we are actually writing simulators at the university to model the fluid flow in the reservoir. And I recall my final project at the university was writing a gas simulation program where you can simulate the gas movement under in the subsurface. And so I came here and I worked at the Bahrain Petroleum Company, and I went up the ranks until I got to the deputy CEO for the main oil company called Petroleum. And then I was asked to work on national energy projects. So His Excellency, the minister at the time, asked me to move to the National Oil and Gas Authority to become his senior advisor. And we worked on energy efficiency projects and what do they call them? The ESCO, super ESCO models and renewables. And at the time, at this time, 2022, just 3 years ago, I was selected to be the MENA director, Middle East and North Africa director for Society of Petroleum Engineers, which I have been very active with for the last 35 years. And I published a lot of papers. So almost, I recall we have 13 published papers, and I have one coming up very soon in May. And then I accepted the role. It's a very demanding role. And so I decided to kind of take an early retirement to focus on my SPE service, because, we've been, taking a lot from SPE all these years. So it was time to give back. So I look at it as if, I want to focus on serving the community. And that's when I got another offer from Dragon Oil to become the CTO, or the Chief Technology and Innovation Officer, which is a topic that is so close to my heart. And so I did come here, and a few months back, I graduated from Cambridge Executive CTO program. So I am a certified CTO, through Cambridge, which is a big honor for me. So here I am. I'm still continuing, even with more energy than I started 35 years ago.
That is true, sir. We can definitely see it on your face, that energy level. So, sir, you said you were interested in science. Uh, one could have thought that you will definitely go into research side of things, but you ended up choosing petroleum engineering. So, you were always interested in that subject, or you had other ambitions aside?
Well, I loved the chemistry. I loved math. I loved physics. When I graduated, it was in high school, when I just was fascinated by being able to represent nature on paper, using mathematical equations and all that. It was just too fascinating for me. And so when I went to study petroleum engineering, honestly, I didn't like it in the beginning, when it was like lab experiments. But when it got to the numerical modeling, that's what attracted my attention, because that's chemistry. See, petroleum engineering is the study of a fluid flow in a porous media. And there, all this, physics and chemical interaction, and it's all mathematically modeled into simulation programs with millions of cells that can give you a prediction of where the fluids are moving, like 20,000 feet under the ground, to give you the best educated, or the best, the best decision to produce as much energy as possible. Because at the end of the day, all this oil or gas you produce, it ends up in bringing comfort to people, whether in driving a car to get to somewhere, whether in bringing light to the room. It's all about energy.
True.
So that to me was fascinating. I fell in love with the subject, and I changed my mind about oil and gas. As a matter of fact, I was thinking of changing discipline the first couple of years, but then I came to realize that this is something, there's nothing more than bringing comfort to people, whether it's oil or gas or energy, renewables. It's all about energy. So yeah, that's what really caught my attention. I love the topic. Yeah.
Glad that you didn't change the subject.
Yeah.
So, sir, can you walk us through your responsibilities as as a CTO at Dragon Oil, and what does the company is all about, the vision and mission of the company?
Okay, so Dragon Oil has a unique model. It's a beautiful model. So it's a Dubai-based company. It's a semi-national company, but it operates like an international oil company. Okay. So we don't operate any fields within the United Arab Emirates. Our fields are outside, and we do that through what they call PSAs, production sharing agreements. So we signed contracts with the government of Turkmenistan and the government of Egypt and Iraq. And with those PSAs, define a sort of a cost recovery mechanism and the profit splits. very sophisticated financial models that bring in a win-win model for all. So that's what Dragon Oil does. And my role as a CTO, as actually a CTIO, Chief Technology Innovation Officer, is to make sure that operations are up to the latest technology. And we don't do it for fun, of course. We have to do it to make sure that you add value to the operation, whether you increase production or whether you reduce risk of emissions, you minimize or even eliminate emissions, whether you improve the health and safety of by using robotics. It's all about making sure that you understand the challenges. So you have to map all the challenges across all operational business units and be able to match each challenge with a set of technologies. And those technologies, of course, has to be acceptable in terms of sustainability. So or something that causes more, higher risk or bring more emissions, you have to always be improving, reducing the carbon footprint and reducing the energy intensity. So that's what we do from the outside, but also from the inside. My role is to unlock the potential, the creativity potential of the organization by providing every employee with the opportunity to propose ideas, to come up with ideas. So we bring in what we call the innovation platform that allows even the frontliner, the person who's really dealing with this operations on day-to-day business, to pick up his mobile and put an idea in and send it to us. And then we review it. And if it's a good idea, we reward that person. So we unlock that creativity potential. And within all of that, we also open up to the outside. So we create what we call an ecosystem of partnership with technology, high-tech companies on the outside. And we partner with international oil companies, with service companies, with service providers. We bring in this ecosystem around the company. Just the idea is to make sure that innovation, because innovation is not a linear process. It's a disruptive process. So you have to just provide the ground where that innovation can come up. And that's my role as a chief technology officer. So I make sure we are up to date when it comes to technology.
That's quite innovative, sir. So how do you identify and mitigate the key risks for new oil and gas technology projects and innovations in the company?
Yeah. Okay. So risk assessment is a major part of our day-to-day business. So whether it's a corporate risk or whether it's a process risk, we have what they call an MOC, a management of change. So if I would bring something new to the company, I would have to go through this MOC process. I would have to bring in the safety team. I would have to bring the integrity team. I would have to bring the engineers. We would have to assess we have to do a proper risk assessment to make sure we mitigate any high element risks in this change. And when I say change, may not be a big change, maybe just replacing a valve with a more efficient valve. You still have to do that. And you look at all items, you brainstorm and you look at all items that has the probability of happening. And then you map it against the consequence if that happens. And with that process, you come up with the highest probability, with the highest consequence items. And those, you have to make sure you have mitigation plans against each one of them. Without that, it will be just, like shooting in the dark. It's absolutely essential to build a risk system, risk matrix for every element you have in the business. So it is a day, I would say, it's really the bread and butter of our business to be able to understand the risk. Okay. It's important. I mean, I can't say, I can't find the word to emphasize how important it is. Yeah.
So what are the key challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis as a CTIO?
Okay, so the main challenge, which not only me, I think every CTIO faces, is the culture change.
Oh, okay.
There is a push, yeah, definitely there is a pushback for any new thinking, any new technology. It's not easy. It may sound very simple, bring in a new, technology and put it there. There is always this pushback. And it's all over. This is a common problem all over the place. See, innovation have three types. There is what they call the offerings, and then they call what they have the offering innovation is like, bringing tools that can replace others. And there are the process and execution innovation, where you change processes. And of course, there is like the business model offering, business model innovation, where you change the whole business model of the company. You bring in a new line of business. And each one of them have a different set of people who will push back for any. It could be just, people don't like to get out of their comfort zone, or sometimes maybe people feel threatened that a new technology may jeopardize their job.
Career.
See, which is not, I disagree with all the time. I try to always explain that bringing a new technology gives you more responsibility to do other things. It's not necessarily to replace you. There are always more. But that, I think the cultural pushback is the main bottleneck, because you have to deal with people to convince them that this is good. All it takes is one person who pushes back, and your whole project is jeopardized.
Yeah.
So that is the main challenge. Other challenges, technical challenges, that you can overcome very easily by training, by attending conferences, reading and talking to people. That's not a big deal. Culture changes.
Okay. Can you think of any example where you had to face this kind of an issue on a very larger scale, and then how you mitigated it, and how did you overcome those obstacles to implement that particular technology?
Okay, so I can think of back when I was in Bahrain, when I started with this numerical modeling. It was something completely new to the industry. So engineers were used to do things manually. So they would bring in maps, those big maps with, pens, and they will, select the wells. And so when we start to talk about numerical modeling, they didn't feel comfortable having this black box, which is a computer, select our job, and who's this? What is this to do better job than us?
Okay.
And that was a big it's in my memory. It was a big issue because at the time, even the general manager, I heard him saying, we are all going to be in trouble because of this new technology coming in. Decision making to a computer. And I don't know, some models and stuff, we still have to do things by hand. And this was a big issue because there's a huge investment that needs to be done, buying software and buying computers. And if the top management were scared of this, there's no way. It's very difficult, very difficult to push through. But we were lucky to have certain individuals in the organizations who believed in it. I mean, now it's common sense, nobody do these things manually. But at the time, it was something new. It wasn't accepted. And me coming in as a numerical simulation engineer, I was in a very difficult position because, who's this guy? What's he gonna do? I mean, why did we bring him to start with? We don't need him. We have the pens, we have the papers, we have the maps, we have, this guy is just coming every day, clicking on the computer, and just, clicking and clicking, and then comes up with things. We don't even know what he's doing. So yeah, that to me was a big culture pushback, a major one. I witnessed it immediately after I came from school. So back in 86, very young. So it was shocking to me. But then I saw it other aspects. So it's nothing, it wasn't something strange. I mean, this is still happening as we speak. It's a human nature.
True, true.
Pushback. Yeah.
Definitely, sir. Because as you were telling that example, I kind of remembered how when calculators came into existence, people didn't want calculators to know to because they thought that calculators might not take up their jobs, or perhaps it will make things very difficult for the teacher when we do it manually. Calculators won't be able to give exact answers. And now it is the same with AI, when AI has been, coming up, and with all the new innovations, and people are scared that it will take their jobs up. So
Exactly. It's happening again.
yes,
So, and it will
exactly.
happen again. And it's a human nature. True.
True. That is true, sir. So, sir, you have been actively involved with the Society of Petroleum Engineers throughout your career, including the establishment of a regional chapter. So, how has this organization impacted your career and growth as a leader in the industry, and what value does it provide?
Oh, yes, that's a great question. So it's SPE, the Society of Petroleum Engineers. It's let me first give you a small sort of hint about why our job is very difficult.
Yeah.
See, if you go to civil engineer or architectural engineer or any mechanical engineer, they build things for people. They can build a car, they can build a house, they can make a street. Petroleum engineering is the reverse. We didn't build the reservoir under the ground. It was built for us. So we have to make sure we use it, and we don't see it. We don't see the reservoir. Nobody can claim he's seen a reservoir. It's all under the ground. You have to visualize. You have to be able to model that. You can get 10 people working on the same asset, and each one has a different visualization. It's very difficult to get everybody to be aligned. And that's where SPE comes in. SPE makes these platforms where people can meet and exchange. I cannot go buy a book and read about how to produce the Bahrain field, for example, or Turkmenistan field. There's no such thing. The book will teach you the basics of how the fluid flows in the rock, or how a certain field was produced. But then you have to make the connection. It may not necessarily work if you bring that knowledge to your area, your field, and try to implement it. It may not work. So it's Mother Nature. Each field is different. It's we call them heterogeneous. They're not the same. You cannot find two fields that are exactly the same. And so connecting minds is extremely important to people to discuss their experiences and share experiences. That is so critical. Not as much critical as in other disciplines, but for petroleum engineering and geosciences, exploration, all those sciences or disciplines that deal with the hidden, under the ground stuff, that has to have some sort of communication, human communication, where they can exchange and learn. Having meeting people of my discipline, similar to my discipline, working in other fields, is extremely important, valuable, because I get to know what they're doing and they get to know what I do. So that's what SPE did. SPE was able to bring in people together, build networks, document experiences through the publications. And if you go to SPE libraries called One Petro, you will find hundreds of thousands of publications going back to the 1950s. It's become a standard practice that before you initiate any project, you go and do an SPE search. You look at all those papers that are similar to the challenges you're facing, and you review them for a literature review. You understand how the same problem being treated in different parts around the world before you start to develop your own. So that's what SPE does. It brings you the knowledge, it brings you the network, and it makes sure that you are always up to date with technology, because that's how it works. You know, they build these forums, they have workshops, they have conferences, they have forums. Each one has a different objective, and brings in the right people all under one roof where they can share information. And this has been happening for a long time, and it's a proven best practice. I really don't know if there is any so effective society in the world today similar to what SPE has done. I cannot actually imagine the oil industry without having SPE. If SPE wasn't here, I think things would have been much, much different. Yeah.
Sure, sir. So, sir, how has this organization impacted your career and growth as a leader?
Yeah. So SPE is open for all. It's not an exclusive club, right? So people think SPE is for petroleum engineers. No, SPE is called the Society of Petroleum Engineers, but actually the petroleum engineers constitute only 30% of the members. So it's all people working in the oil industry. They get all together. So with that, you have this diversity, which is a beautiful diversity, because you have this multidisciplinary teams all over the place, and you can talk, and you have this library, you can talk to anybody anytime, you know, and through this network. And so in that sense, they have these forums and they have the workshops, and people can nominate themselves to be part of a program, committees, or, you know, with time, you can become chairperson of conferences, and bringing a new young professionals. And that's one of the programs I have here at Dragon Oil, is to engage all young professionals into the program committees of the regional SPE events. That is the best education you can give to any person, because through this process, they have to talk. They will learn public talking. They will learn communication skills. They will have to go and look into the technology, because they have to construct sessions and panel sessions. They have to evaluate abstracts. They have to maybe sometimes moderate a panel sessions, and all of that I've been through. Unplanned, really. I won't say I planned to do it. No, unplanned. Just being with SPE. It just, you know, happened that you go all over the world, and you talk in Indonesia, and you know, you give presentation in the US, and it just makes you more international, makes you more seasoned. It gives you leadership skills, because you have to deliver. You know, you cannot hide. Even if you're with SPE, you have to stand on the stage, you have to talk, you have to lead a discussion, and that opportunity is open for all. Many people think SPE is for others. No, SPE is actually for everyone who would like to be there. And that's what SPE does. And I'm determined to make sure that everybody, all those young professionals, go through the same experience. It's a valuable experience, very valuable for any individual if he wants to go through this real life training and leadership training, free of charge, really, you know, because all these conferences, are there all open for anyone to come in. You don't have to pay to be part of that committee. Yeah.
That's incredible, sir. Quite a big opportunity for all the professionals who want to come up and speak out their ideas, and to be known as well, to connect with all the industry peers. That's a
Sure.
great platform. So, sir, over the careers you have seen some of the most significant innovations and technology advancements. So, how do you see this field evolving in the future? What technology are you most excited about?
Oh yeah. So to me, I think today, like I said, you have the three types of innovations. You have the first. If you think of those three types like an iceberg, really the tip of the iceberg are these gadgets, changing valves or new type of materials. It doesn't have that big impact, but changing processes has a much bigger impact on the organization. organizations, and changing business model has even a bigger impact. And this is the part where you don't see. I'm very excited about artificial intelligence, and we actually just finished one AI project here in the company where it can intelligently identify wells where we can improve or enhance productivity to bring in more oil and more profit. Yeah, through this intelligent AI routines, which takes in like 50 different parameters and try to come up with relationships, and gives you those figures. To me, that is a change in the process. It's a process innovation. It's not the AI is not really a tool you put in. It's not a computer. It's just a process. It's a way of thinking. To me, I think that is a main change in the way we do business. And AI depends on a lot of data. You have to feed it with a lot of data. And now the oil industry has enough. It has got enough history to get all that data and put it into these intelligent models to produce oil in a better way with less emissions to make it more sustainable. This is one technology, and of course the hydrogen. I think it's going to be producing hydrogen from gas, which requires that you do carbon capture.
Yes.
So carbon capture, I think, is a low-hanging fruit. A lot of countries now going into that. So if you ask me what are the biggest innovations I see are AI, and of course now we have drone technologies are doing a big change also. Drone technologies can can detect leaks very early, not by trying to see, to look at the hydrocarbon, but you can even see it if there is any change in vegetation around pipelines. There is something wrong. So, you go and send a message to the operators to go and do something. So that also is evolving already. So yeah, a lot of technologies are happening. See, the oil industry always evolving since it started. And I remember when I was in school in 1980s, the prediction that there will be no more oil by year 2000. And they were right, because they were predicting based on the technology at the time.
Yes.
But then technology evolves, and then that peak, what they call peak oil, gets extended and extended and extended. It's all a function of technology. And there's no stop to this. I mean, the unconventionals revolution in the US has proved what could have been impossible just 20, 30 years ago. How could you produce oil from shale? I mean, nobody could even imagine. Today, it's a major game changer. So all these technologies, I think they're always being developed over time.
Yes, definitely true, sir. Since due to this climate change, which has become a very prominent agenda in all the maritime industry, the complete maritime industry, how is the shift towards renewable energy impacting the traditional oil and gas companies, and what trends are you currently observing in the market?
Okay, so this is a very healthy thing that happened to the oil industry. Having sustainability element in oil companies is a must. I guess in the past we have not, maybe the oil industry hasn't been very responsible. Emissions didn't mean anything. But now I think people start to realize that there is a value in producing sustainable, safe, sustainable energy. So I think we should not call it oil and gas anymore. It should be called energy. And I believe the oil and gas, renewables and sustainable projects are expensive. They're not cheap.
True.
And I believe the oil industry is capable of driving this change. And they are. You look at companies like Dragon Oil, you look at ADNOC, you look at Aramco. These companies in this region, specifically in the Arabian Gulf region, they're pushing for that change. And it's happening. That change is happening. You see a lot of investment going into sustainability. The money, see, the reason why the oil industry is the capable party to make that change is because of three things. First, we have the capital. So the oil industry, renewables is expensive. So I believe 100 megawatt solar farm is $850,000. These are not cheap, and you're talking about a short time span, like 20 years.
Yeah.
You need to change that. So it's a very capital intensive, and the oil industry has the cash to do this. Second thing is the oil industry has the project management knowledge. Yeah. We can run very complex projects. This wind farms and solar farms, they're very simple. Technologically, it's very simple. You all you need is just a foundation and then you have the solar panels and the inverters. It's basic really. And the third thing is the image or the need, the passion for delivering energy. The oil industry can provide in their energy portfolio, they could have the oil and the gas and the renewables, and the hydrogen and the nuclear. There is nothing wrong with having an energy mix. See, it's easy to say we want to replace energy transition. They call it energy transition. That is not the right word. This should be energy diversification. You cannot, when you say energy transition, you're going to say, I'm going to get rid of fossil fuels and bring in renewables. That will never happen. Everybody knows that's not going to happen. Populations of the planet Earth are on the rise. There is more need for energy. India is a good example, and because energy is proportional to economic growth. So the more growth you have, the more energy you're going to burn, the more emissions you're going to have. So the key is to be able to produce energy at minimum emissions. So we have to find something about the emissions. You cannot stop producing energy. Energy is required in any form possible, whether it is coal, whether it's oil and gas, whether it is solar, whether it's wind, it's nuclear. See, the fossil fuel is still the cheapest form of energy. So that will always be the safe backup. If you rely completely on renewables, that can be risky. Look when the earthquake happened in Morocco last year and the flood in Libya. If it wasn't for fossil fuels, the number of deaths would have been many, many more than what is recorded. It was the airplanes that transported doctors from all over the world to the most difficult places in Morocco. It was the fossil fuels that run the makeshift hospitals 24/7. It was, you cannot deny these facts, and you cannot rely on, charging batteries every time you have an emergency. You're going to have to wait and charge batteries to be used. No, that is not practical. We have to be practical. I do think that this net zero, there is a lot of political elements in it, and we need to realize that. We have to make sure that we are not sacrificing the prosperity of growing nations because of some calls for eliminating emissions and all that. That has to be done not on the expense of the prosperity of people. Yeah, that's my position with this renewable and sustainable. It is very important, but in addition to the fossil fuel.
Definitely true, sir. Because the other day when I was hearing one of the interviews and the same question came up, and the gentleman on the podium, he said, if anybody says that you can replace a particular technology or replace a particular fuel something with another technology or fuel, then run to the other side because it's not going to happen. You have to make it work simultaneously. You have to maintain a balance in between the two. So, sir, what, in your opinion, are the most important skills for effective leadership in the oil and gas industry today?
Okay, so if you talk, particularly today, I think the key word I have that needs to be, as a main trait of leadership is agility. Agility now is the name of the game, really, because it's a changing dynamics. The new energy landscape is changing. There's so geopolitical issues. There are, wars. There are, people talking about this carbon credits and penalties and, sustainability, net zero, just too many variables.
Yeah.
And a huge anti-oil sentiment happening in different parts of the world, by the way, not in our region, not in your region, not in China, but in the US and Europe. There is the changing fossil fuel sentiment. So there are just too many variables. It's very difficult to plan in the future. So the idea now is to become, the leadership is now for a company or a society is to become agile, to be able to change and strategically position itself into the future. I don't think anybody can predict what's going to happen in 10 years' time. Honestly, I really don't know. I know oil will be there, fossil fuel will be there, renewable will be there, but I don't think anybody can predict how it's gonna. They're saying now a lot of companies will go out of business, or fossil fuel companies will go out of business if they don't meet up to the certain sustainability or net zero demands. I don't know. Nobody can predict those. Because there's there's a lot of politics involved in there. You're talking about, again, nations and prosperity of their people. Will I sacrifice the prosperity of my people by giving that, putting all this investment in expensive renewable projects, or will I put it in the comfort of my people? This question will come up with a lot of, especially growing economies. It's going to be very difficult. So I think for leadership, agility is very important. Strategic thinking, looking forward. That is, I don't think we are short of leaders. I think you'll find leaders all over the place. There's a lot of education now with the internet. People can learn leadership sitting in home, watching YouTube. It's not like in the past. You have to go to college or something. Everything now is accessible, right? So you can take a short course. You can attend an institute and get certified. That's not the issue. The issue is to be able to look into the future and be ready for any change. You can't sacrifice things on the expense of another. You have to be a win-win situation for all. Yeah,
That is true, sir. 100%.
yeah, okay.
So, coming to a very lighter kind of question, how do you maintain your work-life balance, and what hobbies do you pursue outside of work?
Okay, so you may be surprised to know that I am an artist. Actually, I like painting.
Oh.
And I've had, yes, I love painting. Actually, I had a lot of several solo exhibitions back when I was in Bahrain. I slowed down a little bit because here I'm, have more workload. And I did publish a book 4 years ago. It's on the Epic of Gilgamesh. And so I can send you maybe some of the links to show some of them. Yeah, so that's, I do that a lot. And of course, I enjoy, of course, spending a lot of time with the family and all that. But to me, work is very important. It's where, it's, I don't want to say I'm a workaholic, but we just love working.
When your work doesn't seem like work, then it's all fun.
It's part of the life, I guess.
True.
Work and life. Life is work to me. It's that's something I'm proud of, that I have passion for my job, and it's always about serving. It's always about serving others, serving the company, serving the community, serving making people happy. When I see people driving a car, I feel proud. When I see people sitting in a room with the lights on, all of this coming from this all energy.
Yeah.
And we, as an oil industry, we contribute to that. Maybe it's not seen by the average person, but everything you see today, the asphaltene on the roads, you're driving cars, the traffic lights. I just imagine you don't have all of that. where would we be now, you know? So yeah, so I feel proud I'm part of this oil and gas and energy industry. I do.
Definitely, definitely. So it's quite difficult to imagine a life wherein we don't have all these things, when we have become so dependent on these things.
True, true.
So, say our final question for the day: what advice would you like to give the students who are interested in the petroleum energy? Sorry,
Well,
what
I think,
advice? Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think, petroleum engineering, irrespective of the anti-fossil fuel sentiment, it's a great area to be specialized in. And India now is picking up with these SPE events. So last December, there was an event on mature assets, an SPE event. And 6 months earlier, we had a drilling conference in New Delhi. Actually, we sent two people from Dragon to attend that. And India now is picking up with SPE events. And the same thing, of course, happening all over the place. And I can see students, actually, I gave a presentation to an Indian university, I forget the name. And it was a weekend, summertime, and 50 people showed up. And I was very happy to see that level of interest. Yeah, it's the future. We are going to need more petroleum engineers because there is plenty of reserves under the ground that needs to be produced. Petroleum engineering is not one discipline. So within petroleum engineering, you have a lot of different, it's a portfolio of different disciplines. So you have what they call petrophysicists, you have exploration geophysicists, you have drilling engineers, you have completion engineers, you have reservoir engineers. There is plenty for anybody to specialize, and we will need all of those. And with the new technologies coming up, that like artificial intelligence, I think the young generation, they will love this discipline. I just wish I was like 50 years, 40 years earlier, younger, because I would definitely get into artificial intelligence applications in the oil field. It's a fascinating and area, and I think there's plenty of jobs available for petroleum engineers and geosciences, by the way. Not only petroleum, geosciences like geologists and geophysicists. So all those areas, I think students should go, and they have to keep in mind that now when we produce a barrel of oil, it has to be safe, not harming any person or any animal, and it has to be sustainable in the sense that you should not produce any emissions. So that's the mindset. And my advice to all young students that they have to learn every day. Just don't feel bad if a day passes without learning something new. Get into this habit of always learning something new every single day. Believe it or not, those incremental knowledge really comes up to something really big after a few years. Yeah, don't underestimate the power of this internet. You go to YouTube, you don't have to listen to music all day long, and just see one scientific video. Yeah, how is this done? How is that done? The oil industry, everything now is there. It's during our days, if I wanted to learn about a certain project, I would go to the office and I would fill an SPE request form, requesting the paper. And then I will go to the bank, I'll drive to the bank and make a draft for that amount to buy that paper. And then I'll go to the post office and put that and send it on registered mail and wait for a month until that paper comes to me, and I'll open it and read it. Now I can do this with a couple of clicks.
Yes.
So the young generation don't know this. They think it's always been like this. No, we used to, spend a lot of effort and energy just to learn. Now it's in your fingertips. You can learn anything, anytime, anywhere you want, whether waiting for a bus or waiting, sitting in an airplane, you can always learn. So don't underestimate that power of time. Always learn. That's my advice, really. Any young professional, they come and ask me, don't ever stop learning and talk to people. We have this, I've seen in my career, lots of people who become so arrogant for some reason. You need to get rid of that. Even if you're a big boss, talk to everyone, young engineer, anybody in the street, in the elevator, you will always learn something. You will learn communication skills. You will learn how to talk to people. That's very important because that seasons you. Yeah. I hope that was useful.
Definitely, sir. That was very valuable kind of advice as well. And I believe all the people who are listening to this interview will be inspired by your journey and how a professional should act in an oil and gas industry, or perhaps any industry for that matter. So, sir, thank you for spending your valuable time with us and taking us through your journey through this program. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for this. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Same
Thank
here.
you.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.